My name's Dave Walsh. I am a drummer and educator at Leeds College of Music in the UK. As part of my teaching, I talk about quite a few different technical approaches, giving the students different options. So it's not all about sort of a singular approach, it's definitely different approaches. And I'm always thinking about exercises, cool exercises that are interesting for me, because I easily get bored, especially practicing. It's just hard, it's a hard thing practicing. You've got to be very focused, dedicated, and it's a very I call it kind of the lonely journey, you know. It's what nobody who sees you perform sees you doing. When you're playing on a gig, everyone thinks it's all whatever, you know, it's just all kind of happening in the moment. It's obviously with very high-end players, people that I aspire to sound or play like. You're talking thousands of hours of practice away from the bandstand, away from even playing in groups, just playing at the instrument, different approaches to the instrument. And I have sort of two, and I'm teaching now, I talk about two things generally. One is about balance of sound at the instrument, and about learning to control the four limbs, so as a coordinational aspect, not just in relation to rhythmical patterns played at the same time as each other, but also balancing the four limbs. You've got a hi-hat or left foot. I'm a right-handed drummer, so this is my hi-hat foot, this is my bass drum foot, this is my either my hi-hat or ride cymbal kind of playing hand, and this is my sort of snare drum or playing hand. Sometimes I play open, but that's generally how I play. Other people play in different ways. You might play, you know, you might be a left-handed player, so it's all reversed. You might be a left-handed player that plays right-handed drum kit. That's all whatever. I'm talking quite generally here. So I talk about those four elements of playing time and trying to get this nice balance going on, getting the feathering of the bass drum, balanced hi-hat with the ride cymbal, nice comping level, it's in balance with the bass drum and in balance with the skip note generally on the ride cymbal. That's kind of one concept. The other side of teaching, of course, is about technique, really, and about unifying the hands, getting the hands to work together so that they can actually play with a level of fluidity which facilitates expression and, you know, ultimately creativity. Because if you haven't got them, you haven't got the tools to express yourself. You know, playing a musical instrument can then become frustrating. You know, it's not just that thing of you know, oh, I couldn't quite play that thing. It's like, oh, I wish I could play that thing. And there are things you can do on an instrument if you're prepared to put the hours in. You can find some exercises that are quite useful to iron out those problems. You know, there's always solutions to problems. It's just a matter of looking at things in different ways. And this exercise I came up with was based on a few different experiences that I had. And one, I was trying to learn a new technique a number of years ago, which is this idea of just playing from the fingers, no wrist, no forearm, just playing. I mean, I'm playing from the thumb actually in the left hand. I'm playing from the sort of middle, I mean all three fingers actually in the right hand, but generally the thumb in the left or the middle finger. And I was lucky enough to come across a guy on the internet called Art Verdi, who's a great technician on the instrument and a lovely drum kit player as well. And I found some videos of this guy and I emailed him, and he replied quite quickly and gave me some advice and gave me a couple of things to practice, and they were really useful exercises. And it was like a regime, really, something that you said, do this regime in this particular way, and it will help get that technique into the muscle memory, because there's this thing about just getting stuff into the muscle memory, and then once you get stuff into the muscle memory, you can then call upon it to be creative with it, you know. I did this regime. It was really good. It took me about a month. And by the end of it, I'd learnt a new technique, and it was very useful. I really like this finger control thing on the kit, particularly on cymbals. I like the sound of this very, very even. It's different than playing doubles. It's a different sound, and so it's very useful for a certain type of texture. You know, a drumming is can be a very textural instrument. You know, a lot of people think drums is just sort of about rhythm, boom, boom, bap, up and down sort of rhythm, vertical kind of thing, boom, bap, or ting, 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 swing stuff, or whatever. But actually, the landscape of the drum kit and the sounds available to you are really varied. And I like to play as much texturally as I play rhythmically. So it's been really cool for me to learn that technique. But I kind of, the regime itself, because I get kind of bored of things, practicing things. I like to keep doing different things when I practice. I sort of wanted to come up with some other exercises to bring that finger control exercise. And then I've often thought a lot about rudiments and about kind of good rudimental exercises. And rudiments are great for equalising the hands, particularly the ones that cycle. So they go from a right lead to a left lead and back again. Rudiments like Swiss Army Triplet and Paradiddle aren't that, because they go back to the same hand for each pattern. But you know, an exercise like paradiddles and the one I'm going to describe to you now, the flam accent or flam taps, they're great because they're alternating. You know, a paradiddle is right, left, 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 left. So you're basically having to play the same thing in both hands, and that's great because it's equalising exercises. And I've always had this thing about you must equalise the hands. You only play as fast as the slowest hand. You've got to remember that. A lot of people don't realise that. They're always trying to play up to the speed of the faster hand, or you can only ever play as fast as the slowest hand. So that's, my left hand is generally slower than my right hand, apart from with two techniques. The left hand slightly has the edge over the right hand, but they tend to be techniques that don't require the hands to be working together. Okay, whereas when it's techniques where the hands are working together, the left hand is slightly slower because I'm right-handed. It's just the way I am. But I've gotten pretty close now, so that's good. So yeah, so I've got this exercise. It's a flam accent exercise. If you know the flam accent, look it up on the internet. It's a very simple rudiment. It's triplets with a flam. And it alternates left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, etc. And it's a cool rudiment. You play it. You want a nice open flam. You want a nice open sound. You can almost play it with one hand. It's cool. It should swing because the triplet swings. And one of the things that I like about having this open sound is that when I use this tool, the Dramometer here, which I use when I do this regime, the Dramometer is great because it counts your hits. So if I'm playing the flams correctly, it counts 2, not 1, because that should be 4 hits. Because 1, 2, 3. It wouldn't just be 1, 2, 3. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I'll show you that on the Dramometer in a minute. But yeah, you should have a nice open sound so that the Dramometer can record every hit. And what I tend to do with this exercise is have the flam accents playing like that, nice open sound, trying to keep the accents even. Okay, and then I start introducing some extra flams in there. So I'll put pairs of flams together, or put flams on the second triplet quaver or the third triplet quaver. Don't want to go into too much detail about that now because you can have a look at the video, watch me playing it, and sort of work it out for yourself, really, and do your own thing with it. I don't really want to influence what you do too much, but what that introduces is the idea of practicing my doubles, because I've made other videos in the past about the hand-to-hand flam, the alternating flam, if you want to call it, and double strokes. They're connected because of the same thing, essentially. And I'm always trying to find exercises where I can practice my doubles, because I like playing doubles, and practicing alternating flams and playing flams because I like playing flams, and I want to get those two things into the same exercise. And the flam accent thing, because I like also playing triplets. It's good to practice in the odd number, because it's an equaliser with the hands. You have to play with the left what you play with the right, because of the odd number. Yeah, so. A nice one. So that's where you get two pairs of flams and they move through the triplet. The first set of pairs, is on the beat, then the next two are on the second triplet quaver and they move through in a cycle of 4. And then the last one was on the third triplet quaver in pairs. And at the end you have to play 3 together and blah blah blah, because you have to get back onto the downbeat, you know. So that's a really cool exercise. And then I'll do lots of some nice doubles. I'll either do some stuff with thumb, playing the doubles there, see that? Or with the forefinger. And then I'll have a thing where I'll play the alternating flams afterwards. So we get the doubles. Trying to separate those two sounds. They're slightly different input, you know. So you've got to get that separation of sound. And then the other exercise that I bring into this is what I originally talked about, is this. So that's what I'm sort of trying to get all those elements in. Just to talk to you a little bit about the flam accent and just about the actual technique involved. I tend to think of it in a Moeller kind of movement. There you go, you see? So can you see? It's not an over-exaggerated Moeller movement. It's not like the sort of fundamental Moeller movement that you learn originally where you got that going on. It's a smaller movement, because you've got to play speed. You know, we're playing speed here, so you can't have big movements at speed. Well, I certainly can't. I think physics dictates the faster you play, the closer you need to stay to the surface or wherever you're actually striking. The further you come away, you've got to get back. It's just, you know, there's no way around that. So as things get quicker, it turns into this thing I always call micro movements. You still see the turn in the hand. Watch speed in the hand. You'll still see a turn, and you'll see it in both hands. There's still a little turn through the wrist there, the Moeller thing, okay? And it's what's nice about this exercise is the flam accents are playing this kind of Moeller shape, and then suddenly, look how still all that is, lovely still, okay? And I'm in a position where I'm holding minimum weight. Minimum weight. You don't want to be having elbows up in the air, that's all weight. It's just, you know, so you can do it for a very short amount of time. But you're on low centre of gravity always. Nice relaxed shoulders. Neutral, I still think about shoulders. Generally playing through the elbows when you're playing at the kit. That thing of playing in through the elbow, you know, is a very useful way of thinking about playing. Nice centre of gravity. Keeping the elbows low when you play. And when you're doing this, it's just don't hold any extra weight. You know, you can think about all different things with hand position, about weight. When you're playing on top, so you're playing like this way, you know, which is a sort of German technique thing where you're playing. And that's maximum hand and arm weight. And then you go to this kind of 45-degree angle, which is a different weight again. Then we go to the sort of jazz position. A lot of jazz players play in this outside fulcrum here with the thumb. It's a lighter sound again. Very useful, but I can play this finger control in all those positions. I can move, come up into here, or come out to there. Doesn't really make any difference. With the left hand, I generally play either with the forefinger, as you can maybe see there, or with the thumb. That's generally how I play it. It's for rolls. It's for that single sound, really. So what I'll do is I'll stick the drumometer on now. This drumometer is a really cool tool. I've had it for a few years. It's not used as much as I think in education and in practice, and it's I give it a big thumbs up. It has a bit of a rep for being connected with this playing very fast, sort of world's fastest drummer and all that, which is cool, and is one way you can use it. And we're all looking to sort of refine technique, and I tend to use the drumometer over its maximum time setting, which is 900 seconds, 15 minutes. And what the drumometer will do is it will tell me exactly how many hits I've played in 15 minutes, and the number tells me how hard I have actually been pushing it, not how hard I feel like I've been pushing it, how hard I've actually been pushing it. Because there's days when I can really be not feeling so great, do a 15-minute thing, feel like, oh, I've really pushed it, and the number is 8,900, which is 1,000 to maybe 1,300 under where it should be. I'm normally aiming for a high 9,000s, low 10,000s in 15 minutes, which means that the flams are open, which means that the doubles, I'm really playing a decent amount of doubles in there, and it means that I'm also keeping the flow of everything, keeping everything flowing nicely. And flow is what it's all about, really, because with flow we get detail, you get that relaxed feeling, and that's what you're looking to attain in your playing all the time. And practice needs to have that element in it. You know, you've got to. It's all the time about practicing simple things, doing a lot of them, trying to make it interesting, but trying to keep focused on fundamentally being relaxed. That's why I talk about this thing about relaxed elbows, keeping the shoulders relaxed, sat a good posture, making sure that everything's, you know, everything just looks, make it look really, really easy, you know. Okay, so the drumometer, I'll show you 60 seconds. I've got it on 168. I generally do 164 as a warm-up to 172. So if I do 3 or 4 goes at it, I'll generally do 3 because it's 45 minutes with 2 breaks. So it takes about an hour up, really, in reality. I'll do 164 as a warm-up 15. I'll do 168 as a sort of interim. What I'm aiming for is the 172. The 172, when I'm relaxed and warmed up, is the most enjoyable of the 3, actually. The 164 is slightly awkward, and the 168, because the tempo is just under where you're allowing the hands to sort of flow naturally. There's a bit slightly more of you've got to have a little bit more control. It's always good, that thing of practicing slowly, which is always good for you. So you get the metronome on here. The drumometer is great, it's got a built-in metronome, and then you flick back, there's your seconds. Okay, and again you can change that with the dial on the top, go up to wherever you want or down to wherever you want. So I'll just run you through 60 seconds of this exercise. So you've got your flam accents, you've got some pairs of flams within the triplets, we've got some double strokes, we've got some displaced flams, they're in the middle triplet quaver. We've got some single finger controlled triplets with a flam at the beginning of them. Yeah, so have a little listen to just 60 seconds worth of this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Five strokes. Okay, so 704, which is quite a healthy amount. times that by 15, and it gives you a rough sort of guess as to what sort of numbers we should be aiming for. And it's just about thinking about the right things while you're playing, about thinking and making sure that you're hearing the right sound, you know. I want to hear that, you know. Those two, essentially those two separated sounds, and you know, there's three different sounds going on there, but it's the flams and the doubles, making sure I can hear that clarity. And then with the triplets, and there's always that sort of little micro Moeller movement going on. You know, Moeller has this fundamental idea of the technique of a movement. You get a strike, and then a hit, and then this. Whatever you want to think of, there's different approaches. I generally think it's gravity in nature helping you. You know, you're trying to get the stick to control a rebound, essentially, in a particular rhythmical grouping. Whether it's 2s or 3s or 4s or 5s or whatever, blah blah blah. I tend to use it in groups of 3 and 4, sometimes in groups of 2. I tend to use the groups of 2 things as separate one-handed things for different sounds on a hi-hat or on a ride cymbal or on a snare drum, but not connected together. So yeah, everyone's got uses for whatever, you know, whatever different sort of techniques they've got. So yeah, the idea is trying to get this nice triplet working and trying to make it more of a micro movement than the big kind of Moeller, the big Moeller movement where you really, you know, you want to play quick, you've got to stay low. You know, so you want to be keeping it right down there. And then when you're bringing these two things together, other things that I'll add in elements are little 5 strokes. They work really well. I like to use 5 strokes a lot when I'm playing, and they're also very useful when I'm teaching. You know, getting students to play that triplet 5-stroke 1 2 3 1 2 3 digga digga dat 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 digga dat. So there's 3 that you need to learn, and then there's that. So there's the 3 5-strokes. Very, very useful. Playing between 2 cymbals or between toms. Get the Ted Reed syncopation book. Cool exercises in there. The syncopation sets 2 really good swing patterns that you can learn between toms and those 5 strokes, doing with flams, you know. It's all stuff I use when I'm teaching. But the thing that's good about the practice pad away from the kit is just that thing of getting the hands even, you know, so the hands are working together. That's the main thing. Yeah, hopefully you'll found that useful. Thanks very much. Trying to be very zen about it. It's almost detached. I am not part of this process. Bang on, we're over 450 in 30 seconds, which is pretty good. Just got to keep him focused now for his last 30 seconds, which is always the hard bit. The last 20 is the killer. You normally get a bit of tension, you know, but those long runs, you don't get the tension, you see. So 750. man, this should be beautiful. Just keep nice and relaxed now. $901.